We are talking The Beach House, an ecological horror movie directed and written by Jeffrey A. Brown. And I've seen this one described a little bit like The Mist. Now, I have to say, although there is some similarities to that film, the film that it reminded me most of was the often forgotten about 1987 film The Curse. So what is the story here? Okay, so we have this young couple who decide that they are going to go to this beach house, which is owned by the guy's parents. And they go there and to spend some time together. And they also happen to run into this other couple, this older couple, who have also wanted to come to this beach house at the same time. And they just happen to be there at the same time. So the four of them decide to kind of get together and have a bit of a few drinks and also take some drugs in the evening. However, when they are high, they notice a strange sort of mist coming off the sea, and it looks very beautiful, but it seems to have some type of effect on pretty much anything that it comes in contact with, and it seems to affect humans, turning them into almost monstrous kind of beings. Now, initially you're thinking, is this kind of the drugs, or is there something real going on? And as we kind of the movie goes on, we kind of maybe learn a little bit more about the scale of this thing. So that's all I'll say about the plot here. So let's talk about, first of all, what I thought worked with this film. I actually think this is a comparable film to movies like The Curse and The Mist, a slow burn kind of ecological horror that shows you the kind of like the effects of, you know, a natural event in kind of this case. And I've got to say, I thought it was handled pretty well, making quite an intriguing story with no real kind of like particularly gory moments or kind of jump scares or something like that, but a slowly building kind of sense of dread as the kind of the movie goes on. It does maybe take a little bit too long to get there, but nonetheless, I think it has a good kind of incline really in regards to ramping up the kind of the fear and as the sort of the scale of this thing is kind of slowly unfolds, and that the more dangers are kind of revealed, the sense of dread that you're kind of watching as you were empathising with the kind of the characters grows with that. I actually I've got to say, I thought the acting was pretty good from, I don't know, but mainly our four leads here. There are a smattering of other sort of characters that you'll see around, but really it's our two young people are the kind of the main kind of focus here, with supporting roles for the older couple. But I thought all four actors here did a solid kind of job, and you know, it's nice to see, before we kind of get to the more kind of, you know, paranormal stuff, so to speak. I actually quite like the fact that they all seem to get along. There was no sort of antagonistic kind of behaviour. They just kind of like, okay, well, we're all here, let's kind of get on with it. And it just made for a refreshing change, where sometimes you'll see films inject artificial drama to try and kind of pad out the running time and have more things. But it's nice to see, you know, a little bit of a change of pace, I have to say. When we get into the more kind of the spooky stuff happening, so to speak, I think it's handled pretty well. And although, you know, it's not a particularly high budget film, we don't see loads of stuff on sort of screen here. When we do see it, it does look genuinely kind of disturbing. And then what the other thing that I did quite like about it, it seems to be a variety of things that are happening, and not everything is the same, so it may affect people in slightly kind of different ways, as we see a multitude of different effects that it has on people. And this is what reminds me of the movie The Curse, because you know, although the setup is different on that movie, it's in a farm kind of community, there's an event there that makes people kind of turn into kind of more creatures, but they act all sort of slightly differently and that sort of thing. So it really did remind me of that. And then kind of, I gotta say, it doesn't outstay its welcome either. It doesn't kind of drag on too long. What doesn't work for me, I gotta say, I thought the ending was a little bit of a damp squid, if you'll just excuse the pun there. And it does take maybe a little bit of time to really get going. I can see, and having read some of the reviews before I did this one, I could see a lot of people kind of getting a little frustrated because it's a little bit too of a slow burn. for some people at least. I actually thought I didn't have that problem. I actually thought because it's some solid character work in the kind of the first half of the movie, I actually think that kind of carries over and kind of keeps you kind of going. I think it maybe could have done with a few more locales. We really don't see much of outside of this small little kind of hamlet of houses, and I would maybe have a little bit of a more of an idea about what was actually kind of going on and the scale of it. We hear a little bit on kind of like through the periphery when we hear like radio stations and stuff like that, but you're left kind of wondering what actually is the kind of the bigger issue here, and it doesn't really kind of ever go into kind of going into that. Now that might not be a problem for some, but it left me kind of thinking, well, I feel like I don't know the whole picture. I kind of want to have a better understanding of what's actually kind of happened here, and it only really just kind of scratches the surface on that on purpose. But for me, it just was a little bit unsatisfying because of that. But that's a relatively minor complaint, I will say. For the most part, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was very well handled, and although it's not a particularly, I have seen films like this that have a similar kind of story beats, really. It still felt quite refreshing to me. So I want to give it a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.